All right. Thank you, and everyone, for joining the Internet of Value Foundation, New York. One moment. Awesome feedback loop. Welcome to the Internet of Value Foundation, New York, episode 177. How blind are we to the minds that be? I think it's an interesting question and very philosophical in both thought of the implications and nonetheless the actionable means for it. But yeah, anybody, please feel free to hit the request to come up. Shellfish, welcome to the space. And Vet, Persistence, we're gonna hopefully have a great conversation as we all always seem to do in here. And every time I get to host this space, the delightful amount of perspectives and minds and conversations we get to have from the topics that we get to speak about. Welcome up, Shellfish and Vet. Persistence, welcome to the space. Let me give it a
Thank
little
you for having me.
repeat as well. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. Glad I had time today, even though my I'd say my substrate is somewhat melted today from the heat, but we're here, and I'm gonna go grab a couple videos to throw up top because the space title inspired, of course, by a Michael Levin video, as I think a lot of my thought train usually is inspired, nonetheless, from this individual of late. But I watched one of his most recent videos, right? How mind blindness, as he puts it, which is it's just such an interesting, um, just to say that, right? Mind blindness. I mean, what could that even mean? But um, I watched the video multiple times. I'm gonna go post it up top. I still feel like I haven't gotten a great enough grasp to speak about it like like Michael gets to weave and wove through the fabric of the conversation that he's or lecture really that he's able to put together. But yeah, let me grab it. Anybody, feel free to hit the request and come up. I'll send some invites out. And Vet, welcome up.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, mind blindness. This is a good topic, specifically, guys, for us in crypto. I think a lot of us have that issue, and
Did you minor in this in college, Dad? I think you said you minored in this, right?
sorry,
I'm just messing with you.
is she trolling me?
Yes.
Totally. Totally trolling you.
I mean, a good example of that is really, I would say, not only what today happened with Brito is how open is your mind to, like what does it mean? Like I have heard so many. For me, I just got a spoiler that so that completes that story with Roger Ver. I think that makes the most sense that he was posting that as in joining the protest to his friend, because that's also like what he used to portray himself. Like, hey, lawfare against me, and free Roger. So that makes for me the most sense. But regardless of that, there's so many other people who have like came up like with theories that I just found interesting. And some of them, of course, very wild and speculative and all of this. But some people did definitely show creativity or
It does make
open-mindedness.
sense though, that that's like one of the only like he follows two people and Roger Ver
Exactly.
is the second one, yeah.
Yep. And we know from the past that he has a very libertarian view on crypto. Basically, he loves that property of, hey, you can transfer money without anyone saying anything or doing like any censorship, or you have to justify yourself or do like any sort of screening in order to do so. So just complete freedom, and he's a huge fan of that. And Roger is equally that person. Like he's very much that person. In fact, he really got pushed into Bitcoin because of it, as he was experiencing lawfare, and he loved Bitcoin so much because it was giving him that ability to now finally transact, own money without the law, suffering through that lawfare that he had with the banks, and everybody was like after him, and the taxes. It was like, it's a huge story. But for anyone who's not aware of that, I'd highly recommend just digging into it. There's a lot of coverage on it, and he's an OG. And it goes even further down the rabbit hole if you dig. I believe he invested also in Ripple, one of the very early investors of Ripple, and BitPay, which was also a project or team that Arthur, I believe, was in some way involved. So he had a lot of basically overlap with Arthur, and he certainly knows him personally. I'm pretty sure. Um, so yeah, that's definitely the most high likelihood outcome that it is actually joining in protest of him. Because just a couple months ago, Ross Ulbricht also was posting about, hey, Roger stood for me when I needed him, or people when I needed help, and now I'm standing for him because he needs help. Because Ross got pardoned, but not Roger. And in fact, Roger very recently, I have to check when that was. If that is even very, very recent, it makes even more sense. But his last, I think, was it appeal or something, got denied in Spain, because he's right now in Spain. So he will probably be sent to the United States now for the trial and all that. If that was very recent that he was denied, then I guess that makes even more sense that he would do that. On the other hand, I cannot see that Trump would not pardon him, to be honest. If you do lawfare, so imagine you do lawfare, right? So you want to go after someone. Would you really want him right now to go back to the United States, knowing that Trump probably would pardon him because he has, sympathy with someone who, himself also experienced lawfare? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it becomes like a very weird game, obviously. Yeah. It's off topic though.
It in itself is a very interesting topic. Of course, Roger Ver, free Roger Ver. Um, the it's not very far off though from how blind are we to the minds that be. You had mentioned something right at the beginning, Vet, right, where this questioning of this thesis, and how one action with does not resemble a definitive means of comprehension to uh, say observers who are observing the action. Um, the the question, right, then becomes how blind are they as an observer, or we could, in some sense, could say lazy observers, to the minds that be. The question behind the action of representation, and the sophistication of the complexity of comprehension behind that cognitive structure of that actionable state, and the wanting to understand that representation and be able to comprehend it and compartmentalize and quantify that means of be. I think it's very on point actually still. And yeah, free Roger Ver, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Shellfish, by the way, who posted the video up top, because for some reason X was giving me some difficulties there. Against mind blindness. You know, we we had spoken there, Vet, and of course this is a much more macro perspective of the blindness of lazy observers, and the means of even how complex a high level observer the complexity of how difficult it could be to have a comprehension behind, the observation of whatever it may be that we call forth our reality. I think Michael makes a really interesting point as for him as a biologist and someone who owns biological labs creating different medical research uh, aspects and tools sets and philosophies, which I think it's interesting when I really think that he's in some sense taking the complexity of what we've had, and of course anything that I like to say that is new or forthcoming is of course a compounding effect of that. But yeah, he's generating new words, he's generating new philosophies and new comprehensional understandings and awarenesses behind the complexity of systems and their significant cognitive structures and intelligent actions. And when I use the word intelligence, I really mean problem solving, right? The ability to uh, 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 solve a problem in different situations, or the same situations, but in unique ways.
He's one of my favorite scientists right now to take his concepts and apply them to agency for the XRP ledger and the applications it could kind of bring in the next few years with brain computer interfaces and applications that we can use ourselves. It's been pretty cool. I don't know if you do that as well, but because he's had a few guests on there that talk about the economic applications. I can find that YouTube video between him and I think the guy's name is Leonardo something. But yeah, Michael Levin is pretty brilliant.
One of the largest impacts I think he's going to have in biological biotech is something of the extent of what you kind of had just mentioned there, Shellfish, right? Where it's there are approaches that are taken today where the all the way to the DNA level, right, where there are essentially proteins that are bound and exchanged through these different types of molecular formats, and then would be injected back into the body, and there are issues with immuno responses to um, different types of tests and or means of trying to utilize this as a means of solving diseases or any sort of issues that occur, right, like with the tools CRISPR and such. And his approach, right, looking at it from this angle of, okay, well, we know that there's a Gentile system, right, a representation of cognitive structures, an intelligent system that is operating here, and there's some sort of disconnection between the system from whatever means of representation we want to take it from. And so, how do we reconnect the system in a means of optimal operation, right? And so, then taking the cells from their cellular structure and looking at it from how does a cell even communicate with other cells, right? Because we know cells themselves, if you observe from a cellular standpoint, there are, as Michael had said, even 7 different types of learning that we know that cells are able to learn, and that being spatially aware, right, temporally aware, anatomically understanding its space around it, and so just with those simple but very complex means of electromagnetic um, uh, electromagnetic connection between what would be these cellular uh, walls, right? The cellular circumferences in which of each individually of one of these cells they are, and they communicate to make some sort of contextual agreement, right, or conceptual agreement in which they all agree to be the same sort of amperage or same sort of voltage and state, which particularly then, has them change into whatever sort of material format we have as a organic state. And going from that direction to say, okay, well, so if we're going to you know be materializing ourselves with, whether it be synthetic materials like in the forms of microchips or even biological microchips, how do we give the directions essentially to the cells, to the body, in which not to look at this as some sort of external structure to begin with, and it's all about the information pathways through these cellular connections that already exist, and essentially tuning fine tuning the correct amount of electromagnetic connection between them to give this direction of information to say, this is correct, this is the way it's supposed to be. I think it's a more approachable means of being able to solve suppression issues that the body naturally has, that occurs right when there's any sort of detection of external materials or threats in the body.
Well, I think what he was saying was they were trying to develop concepts for brain computer interfaces so you can talk to your cells at that level. And it wouldn't be so far fetched if you're able to have an interface that you can talk to a drone on the outer macro scale, then this would just be an internal device that you could say, hey, liver, I need you to go do this. You're not functioning correctly. And yeah, freaking, it's so crazy. It's like the next few years, I hope everybody throws as much money like I hope we get so much VC funding that it just accelerates and we all get rid of cancer and all these things very quickly.
I think it's interesting that you brought that up. I think it's less about the funding and more about the who's doing the research probably today. It's it's of course a monetary incentive society that we live in, and there's a large pharmaceutical uh, means of the cash cow that exists, of course, geopolitically and geographically, geographically in the United States. So, but that being said, yeah, I think the possibilities of what this technology is going to enable is definitely going to be definitely with that capability, shellfish, with the curing of cancers and understanding how diseases interact inside of the body, and why there's a disconnection between the cells, and even down to the food that we eat, right, when we eat, and the different types of materials that we digest, their interactions between the groups of this agentile material that we are made up of, and those interactions as well in meaningful ways.
Well, imagine data storage too being unlocked. If you think of Minecraft and the libraries, complete libraries that you can put inside of Minecraft, right? Like whole cities, etc. If you are able to use a brain computer interface to unlock your data, which could have as much information from here to Pluto, um, or even having a SHA like 256 instead of a computer, like your DNA as the encryption. um, it's just mind blowing. Would we need data centers anymore? We would just be walking around as living libraries of the data.
Here's an interesting thing, and actually, this is something from Michael, right, himself. What you know to widen our perception of what is relatable, and when I say that, I don't necessarily mean the cognitive light cone structure in which we believe to be our continuum ourselves, our persistence of identity that is hurtling what we think to be forward in time and space. I mean more to the cognitive light cone of the actual agentile material that is of means is to be us, to make us represented as us, right? The the thoughts of the cellular abilities, your neurons, for example, right? As you kind of mentioned beforehand, right? Talking about um, creating a larger means of understanding perception and awareness around yourself, but to increase the capabilities of the the neurons in the brain and the neurons in the spinal cord and the neurons in the gut, and to widen the cognitive light cone of the actual agentile material, in which combined is the sum that leads to us being what we believe to be the persistent continuum whole. I think, just like you had mentioned, Shellfish, right? Capabilities and the things that could be done at that point in time. For instance, we observed 0.03% of the spectrum of light. I think those would be simplistic types of operations that could be understood more spatially from just our epidermis, or our skin layers, rather than just completely dependent on what we would think to be our eyes. And one interesting example of this is how Michael had taken this particular type of species of a worm, and through this electromagnetic interference and operation with the cellular means of the worm, convinced the worm that when it cut the bottom of its body off, that it should grow a head there instead of growing a tail back. And so, from this, simply what was done was a structure of another worm head that was growing on the worm. And the worm would never know any difference than it was supposed to have a head there, and it grew a head back just like it uh, biologically assumed and thought it should. And then there was a two-headed worm. And I think one of the interesting things from that also is that, looking at the genome structure, right? If you were to take the DNA of that worm, there's nothing there that says that that's a two-headed worm. Actually, there's really nothing there that says it's even a one-headed worm. And I think it's even interesting when you think about the human genome, right? There's nothing really in the human DNA or the human genome makeup that says we should be exactly how we are. Yet, for some uh, instance and reason, we are all very, and we could just say it for ourselves, each one of us are very similar in the means of your left arm is similar to the length of your right arm, and your left leg is similar to the length of your right leg. And there is a continuum of persistence between what we think to be ourselves, our identity, and our bodies, but at the same time we know that not to be the case, as even thinking about it um, from that cellular level, the the inference of all the way down to the genome and the DNA, not in itself being that in which has sculpted us to be what we are to be. And one example of that is Michael Levin's The Anthrobots, right? Where he's literally taken human genome and cells and created them into these little biological robots, right? And it's pretty intense that they are even so far fine tuned to be biological systems in reference of a continuum in of themselves, that given the right type of biological material, they will literally go around and create other anthrobots to complete the tasks that they have been essentially um, directed towards to complete. I'm doing a lot of speaking now, so please feel free, anybody else, to jump in. I'll probably keep it going for another couple of minutes. We got a great space starting in approximately another hour or so at the 5:89 mark. But yeah, I mean, anybody feel free to come up. And Sasha, I see you down there. If you get some time and would like to come up, I'd love to have you up here today for the conversation.
Oh my God, is Ellie allowed to come up? Is she able to, or is she at work?
I sent her an invite, so she's more than welcome to come up. Anybody in the space is more than welcome to come up.
Yay, Sasha.
Yes, welcome up, Sasha.
Man, what a very timely and exquisite layout for this conversation, and just getting my brain working in several directions. So, cognitive fluency is what this sounds like, and I've been looking into the potential for all of that, and it's usually accessed in a reflective state, in a reactive state, and I find that very interesting too. Like, people are very good at, once they go out and they conclude their actionable sequencing of taking their proactive course of action, whether that's towards a job or towards an itinerary that they planned out. If they so choose, they can reflect and see the connectiveness of all of their actions. And there does exist a connectedness to there that, in case of an itinerary, is sort of preordained and scheduled out. And that's why, bumps in the road can like stress you out if there's traffic on the highway and you have an appointment at a certain time. But what you're tapping into here is a fluency to the action orientation and the distribution of energy. On, of course, a cellular level, I think this occurs already. It's just we aren't really aware of it to the point where we can maximize its potential. It kind of directs us and is always working in our benefit, similar to how our immune system is designed to do so. But we may impact that fluency with the choice and with the decisions that we take in the conscious state. But if we could parallel that fluency and that sort of healthy directive and action orientation that I feel our cells are working towards, then we might be able to create a bevy of choose your own adventure options that are healthier options than the ones the day before, in like a compounding cascade sort of style.
I love it. It's actually one of the quotes I wrote down. What does it mean to widen our perception of what is relatable? And it's so important, all the way right down to the biological structure, and up to the macro perspectives of the philosophical means of perception. So I love that you're here, Sasha. Glad that we're going to keep going with this topic for a couple more minutes. Harbinger, man, please go ahead, jump in.
Oh yeah, I've been at the gym just listening in. But when Sasha started talking, he immediately reminded me of a book written by Deepak Chopra called Total Meditation. And in it, he talks about how like the meditative state, in his belief, is actually the default state for the human mind. And we have all this noise going on constantly. But to tap his argument is to tap into creativity, you have to silence your mind and find that default meditative state. Like, you don't have to force yourself there. Your brain does it automatically. But the point is to try to extend it when this is what Sasha was making me think of. Like, when you're trying really, really, really hard to be creative, it's almost impossible. But then you'll notice sometimes you're just sitting there and creativity just flows to you. And that was honestly his argument. I thought it was such a powerful book. If you haven't read it, I would definitely read it or get the audio book.
I really like it, and it to me it actually makes a lot of logical sense, right? Because the compounding of the complexity of the thought, right, being that of a compounding state, the thought of the retro causality that's created and the means of getting to this meditative state, this previous believed perceived notion of an actionable existence, uh, and then being able to essentially connect with that energetic state and work your way back in some form and manner. Of course, eventually when you open your eyes, in some sense, and some many people like to get into that meditative state in that way, although I do believe that it's achievable, and just like you had mentioned beforehand, in every state being moment, to essentially be in that place of perceived notion of existence and represent that through actionable steps and processes through the open-ended external manifestation of what we believe to be our reality. And Yeah, that was Ellie. Welcome up as well. Oh, you're up here. If you'd like to jump in, please feel free to. I love your emojis too. Oh man, you must have an Android.
Hey, thank you. No, I don't. I don't really know how to explain how I got them. Somebody recently asked that, and all I really can say is that I had a friend that was a programmer and literally took me hand in hand. They didn't take me hand in hand literally, but they basically had to hold my hand through multiple step process to, and I'm not sure if it's even like, I don't think it's illegal, but yeah, it was, they somehow like figured out a way to access a few more emojis. So I feel really lucky. And if you happen to see anybody else, you're welcome to ask them if they're displaying them how they did it, because there's no way I could tell you how it was done again. And I don't even know if the program is still out there. But yeah, it makes it so much nicer to be able to express, you know, different types of emojis, right? But yeah, this idea of you know, intelligence and stuff, it makes me think about last year I was studying, you know, bioethics and the idea of what makes us human versus something else. And I stumbled upon the organoid intelligence idea, which reminds me as well of like the 100th monkey effect and this idea of how do we propagate learning, right? How do we figure out, and if you don't know what organoid intelligence is, it's basically like a lab grown biological brain up to the point of a limit, right? And then they connect it to AI to try and help AI figure out problem solving skills with a little bit more of a biological help using neurology and things like that. So we're kind of doing it backwards rather than having AI attached to us through like things like Neuralink and stuff. They're actually trying to attach lab grown brains to AI for helping better figure out the, you know, intelligence. But anyway, so yeah, I just think it's interesting, like this idea of really we don't know the potential, but it reminds me of that hundredth monkey thing, where, you know, the monkeys in the 1950s, you know, were given that skill, and we don't really know what at what point, but basically those two groups of monkeys were separated, and basically by like the 100th monkey, the monkeys that weren't even connected to the main consciousness of all these other tribal monkeys figured it out. And this idea that if we can all grow in knowledge and self-awareness, however you define that, whatever that means, if we can access that interconnectedness, whether it's string theory or, you know, I was a massage therapist for 15 years and I'm kind of heading into acupuncture, but I'm loving the science that's coming out on bioenergetics and how now they're realizing memory isn't just stored in the mind. It's actually kind of through that. It's not really necessarily based on neurology. That really there's a system, you know, the fascial system, the liquid matrix, that is a whole communication network. It is kind of an extension of the mind, and it transmits literal information throughout the body. And this is why people can have memories they never really thought of until they receive work in a particular area, and stuff like that. So I just find this idea of tapping into consciousness, and there's always been a question, and obviously, science seems, at this point, and again, based on more of a Western mindset at this point, I think they believe that consciousness is manifested from within, right? But I tend to lean a little bit more, we are a receptor for consciousness, and that we all share in that kind of big thing. But who knows? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. And I love this type of conversation. It's really interesting. And again, with bioethics, I kept confronting this idea, and other people who were more hesitant to be curious kept confronting this idea of, when are you no longer what you define as human? We talk about like Altered Carbon, the book Alter, which it's kind of sketchy book, but super cool idea of skins. Are you no longer a human if you can actually have an entirely new body? What is this consciousness? When are you no longer you? So anyway, all cool, fascinating ideas, and thanks so much for having me up.
Oh, Ellie, what a splendid way to bring yourself into the space. I may say that is this is, you are more than welcome to always be here. This is definitely your space, and I love it. Right, where does the parallel between the line of identity and emergence occur? It's a fine line, I'm sure, but where it is, I'm not sure. But Storm, welcome up. You've got your hand up, and then we'll jump over to Shellfish.
Oh, hi, everybody. Hi, Ellie. It's so nice to meet you. First of all, I love your vocal cord. Your sound is absolutely magnificent. Thank you for all of the service you've done with massage. 888 down there, she's a really good friend of ours. She's also a masseuse. I offer a lot of, I had a big healing center back in Los Angeles. So I used to do a lot of sound. So acupuncture with sound healing were happening at my center 7 years ago. No longer in Los Angeles. I left for many reasons, as you can all see. But just to tell you, if you are going back into that, definitely reach out to me so I can help you find some good distributors, and so you can offer the sound and the acupuncture together, because the combination is exceptional. One more point. I just saw I probably saw the most incredible doctor who actually used to be, his name is Dr. Tudor. He used to be in Santa Monica for 25 years. His wife told him to move out of Los Angeles. So he listened, and now he's here in Arizona. And he is a fascial doctor. He's osteo, and he did a session on me. And I just I'll cry if I talk about it, but he, I want you to know, zero acupressure, but he came over my stomach because I've gone through a lot the past couple of years. But he says you're holding a lot of energy in your stomach, and he literally just put his index finger on one point. And I swear to God, everybody in this space, I just need you to know that teleported me back to a very horrific episode in another lifetime that I've been carrying with me ever since. At that point, he released it. He barely touched me. I want you to know that it felt like he was killing me. That's how much it was hurting. But he was literally just putting his finger on the point. That's it. Just like a tap, and leaving it there. And if you ever find some doctor like this, I highly recommend you all have this experience. He moved things inside of my muscles that I didn't know existed. It was the most incredible 2-hour experience I have ever had in my life. I don't know how many people in the world operate like he does. I've never met anyone like him. He's quite tapped in, super spiritual, and reads the body's energy. But like you guys just talked about it, and this just was my experience this 2 weeks ago, and I'm still, I'm blown away by it. So thank you so much. So lovely to meet you. I would love to tell you I have a business account here that is my business, but right now, for whatever reason, X is not reinstating it, and I'm having major drama. But I'll share in the back end. If you follow me back, I'll give you my website and everything and help you out. Okay? Thank you so much, Death. Thank you. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, everybody in the space.
Oh, thank you for coming up, Storm. And it's such a powerful story, right? Because it's a very physical relation story to the very reflective means of past potential energies or all energies around us, but being stored in a particular manner and way in which it was building up inside of your physical state. And I like to say, people with with their ability to represent their hands and motions in certain ways, they're masters of energy, right? Masters of inertia in some sense. And yes, sometimes we definitely need those rearrangements.
Really, I don't know why we haven't met before. I do massage therapy and I do myofascial work from John Barnes. And I've studied a bunch of craniosacral with John Upledger. So, and I know 888 is another massage therapist. So we need to connect. There are so many documentations on body workers on here, and I think the application of the Internet of Bodies and our ability to network and manipulate the network systems where there is dysfunction and moving the chi around through spaces, etc. Um, so fascinating that you're in here today. I'm like super excited that you're here. So yeah, I 100 times agree with Death Ranger. Please come back every time.
Yeah, it reminds me of one of my favorite accounts on X. His name is Google Fu, and he is an encyclopedia for this type of information. And it makes me think of like decentralized data science and the means of being able to express this in a way that has a continuum of represented identity in an immutable way for our species is also something like super super cool and important to me. Ellie, though, please, you got your hand up. Please go jump in.
Yeah, wow. I just had a session with Darren Moskowitz, who's really close to John Barnes, and I took John Barnes's week-long class for myofascial 1, 2, and rebounding. And I that is why I became a massage therapist. Somebody actually gifted me a 2-week session, private, what do you call that? Like an intensive, the intensive, way long time ago when John was actually still working on people very consistently. And I'm a part of the Facebook MFR, so I'm sure you're there as well. So yeah, I mean, it is funny that we haven't that we haven't interacted yet, but it's so good. It's so good to see the community, and again, it's just so exciting to have. I'm very curious and very open about new sciences and things that are happening in that way. And I had energy work done on me as well, and I can be very skeptical. But to have John Barnes work on me and have energy workers, work on me, a couple in particular, that was very similar to what Storm was sharing of like, from going from very skeptical and completely like all of this is woo woo to having a real experience in which you're just like this is undeniable. It's so mind-blowing. And wow, I mean, the idea that energy carries memory even beyond the body, like whether it's, I don't even know, you know what I mean? That's why it's so
It's
exciting.
even beyond that. I mean, you'll have smells that will come out of the body. I remember smelling pickles coming off of one person, and they said that they had had their injury in a cupboard in the kitchen where pickles had fallen on them, and the vinegar smell was coming out of their pores. And it wasn't just because when you do these intensives, there's multiple therapists that are there with you. It is absolutely amazing. And to be able to share in that experience with people in their healing process is like just next level.
Yeah,
I'm like
100%.
tingling right now. I'm like so excited to have met you. Like I'm so happy that you're here right now, grinning from ear to ear.
They say there are no coincidences.
That's right. Yeah, thanks so much again for having me. Again, it feels like I'm coming home, so I look forward to connecting with everybody here, especially Storm and Shell. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry we hijacked your space, Death Ranger.
no, don't be sorry. You did not hijack anything. I really appreciate it, and it goes to show you, right? Speaking about to this quote from earlier, what does it mean to widen our perception of what is relatable? For you guys to all have these relatable stories, a reflection upon similarities, in which, you know, the state and perception has brought you all together to be here at this exact moment. I think there's significance there, right? This is the bound by the, you know, the energies attract, right? What you put out is what you receive, and you all had very great uplifting energies towards each other, and so it just goes to show you that there really are no coincidences.
It's so true because we were all in Stewie's space, and then we were all on stage yapping, and then it said the space is about to rug, and right as it rugged, I came right in here, and actually right when I saw you had your space, I was like, damn, I missed his space, and then I was like, well, I gotta leave, and then it rugged. So probably my electricity rugged the space, my storm electricity.
I love it. You know, and to this thought, right? How blind are we to the minds that be, all the way down to this energetic level, that you know can be referenced in so many different ways, metaphysical layer, like a quantum layer. I like the platonic state of minds, or, you know, some people really like sacred geometry to be the means of explanation behind the means of significant structures, and the geometrical ways that they've persisted and compounded and then complexified into what we believe to be our reality today. But, you know, nonetheless, I think there be it some means of cognitive reference in these actionable states of structure, and for them to be represented in what we believe to be our perceived notion of reality, for all of you to be here, I think it is exactly how it's supposed to be. And I think with that, I'm going to close the space for today. But it was a really lovely one, and I'm glad I was kind of cooked in the sun today, so I pushed myself to host the space, so I'm very glad I did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Storm, and thank you all, guys. I love you guys. I hope everybody has a great rest of the night, and hopefully I get to make it back tomorrow, 4 p.m., 4:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back.
Have a beautiful day, everybody. Thank you so much, Death, Shelley, everyone.